Well, the Group 1 racing continues. It's Doomben 10,000, $1.5 million race day, joined by Mitch Lewis and Nick Lloyd. I'm Tom Haylock. This is Lay Back with Betfair. We'll start with the debutant, Nick Lloyd. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm a little bit sick of the weather, but look, there's a little bit of a pep in my step. You know, we've got Group 1 racing up here in Brisbane this weekend. So, looking forward to the next 5 or 6 weeks of top racing up here.
You should be used to the weather up there, but I look forward to your lay bin. Mitchy, how are you, mate? You well?
Morning, Tom. Yeah, I'm well, thanks. And Nick, good to have you. Looking forward to it again. Group 1 racing, like Nick touched on, is always great, isn't it? So, but we're moving up north now.
Yeah, we'll be previewing a bit up north in the coming weeks, but Group 1 racing heads up there. We're also touching on a few races at Scone, deep cards, 183 acceptors across the 10 races, incredible fields. There'll be a few scratchings and obviously the day 2 of the 2-day carnival, so we'll touch on that. As usual, we'll kick off with the lay bin. I'll start with you, Mitch.
Yeah, okay. Look, I've got a couple I've been in a good mood, Tom, so hard to sort of pick off a couple of things. I'll give you one to start. So the AFL and their scheduling of the South Australian games. Now, I spoke to someone from Racing SA while I was over there. 3 home games through the races. So Port versus Kangaroos during the Oaks. Then it was Crows, Carlton, Derby Day, and then the showdown, obviously. Now, the AFL can do what they want. They don't have to pander to racing. But my reports are perhaps that last year the same thing happened in Racing SA. Might have said, could you help us out a little and maybe shift a couple of these around, and got a big fat no back down the line. So, I guess the big boys don't really want to share. So that's just something interesting, I thought. And then I've got a little tongue-in-cheek one here. The Brisbane Race Club, they announced their free beer initiative for the Doomben Cup, where they're going to shout the bar for a beer if Antino or Pride of Jenny win. Now, I was just sort of suggesting, love the idea. It's great. Anything to get people to the races. But surely you'd be a little bit patriotic and say, we need our boy to win. It needs to be the Queenslander. It's a Queensland beer that you're getting. It's a Queensland track. So it needs to just be our boys. But they're going to have Queenslanders cheering for the visitor. And I just thought, I thought there was a trick missed there. I even suggested to Nick before, maybe they could have done any Queensland horse wins. But I just thought, I love the idea, but I just thought it lacked that little bit of an edge.
Maybe they actually want to give some free beer away, Mitch, because...
I throw it out to half the field. That's half of them are Queenslanders.
A local horse hasn't won the Doomben 10,000 since 2002. That was Falvalon. Before that was Spirit of Boom, won in 2014, and before that was Falvalon in 2002. So it's been a while between drinks. The Raiders have dominated the race, so maybe they just want to give...
into it, I suppose.
Maybe they just want to give some free beer away, Mitch. But no, it's a good point. It's been done. Come up with another initiative. Caulfield Racecourse MRC did it. We bagged Flemington and the VRC for doing the same thing, and now obviously Brisbane have copied. So just come up with your own free beer initiative. It's been done. Come on, guys. That's a good shout.
We're an hour behind up here, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
We got to catch up.
Exactly. Just on the AFL, Mitch, that's a really good point. I didn't pick up on that, but now you mention it. I was actually at the Crows Carlton game in Adelaide watching the Derby on my phone.
Yeah.
And I had the choice between going to the races and the footy that day, and thought I'd go to the footy. So,
and that's coming from someone who's involved in racing as well. So I'm sure there's
100%.
a few, you know what I mean, and a few other scenarios as such.
100%. You get a bigger crowd if there's no Crows game on. That's definite. And it's
Carlton
a great call.
Well. Maybe it was a bit different if it was a lower team, but you've picked one of the bigger. Well, not that they've picked, but one of the bigger Victorian teams has rolled into town as well. I'm sure that didn't help.
No, I like that, Low Ben. That's very good. Look, Nick, we'll go with you first before I come off the long run.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm putting good friend Mother Nature into the lay bin this week, boys. Just the last 6 Saturday Metro meetings in Queensland, we've only had 1 dry track. So the last 6 we've had a heavy 8, a soft 5, a heavy 8, a good 4, soft 7, and a soft 6. Now, nothing new last Saturday with the Gold Coast, because it seems like if the Gold Coast has got a feature Saturday meeting, it's guaranteed to rain. They lost that last race, the Bat Out of Hell last weekend, but now, we're sort of coming into carnival time. We're used to having beautiful blue sky, warm, semi-warm winter's days. But I'm just sick of the rain, boys. Like, I'm over it. It's hard to sort of find a decent form line. You look at that Gold Coast meeting last weekend, like that Oaks lead up the Gold Coast bracelet, like they were coming in 6s and 7s there. Panito won by 7 lengths, and there was 3 lengths back to the 4th horse. Like it was just a shambles. So I'd like some good tracks. I'd like some horses to run true form. Hopefully we get that the next couple of weeks. But I just had a look at the forecast then, and it's rain just forecast all the way through until next Thursday. So even Doomben Cup could be on a wet track.
I've got an idea. Let's move the Brisbane Racing Carnival down to Melbourne or Adelaide. There we go. There's an idea. It hasn't rained in Adelaide for about 4 months. And Melbourne's been very dry itself. So you should be used to that, Nick. It's the Sunshine State, but it rains a lot up there.
It does. Like the last 6-12 months, it's just like fair dinkum. Come on, give us a break here. But I reckon usually the winter's pretty good. But I guess there was that, it was this meeting the year Marzu won it. I think they pushed 10,000 Day back a week and moved it to Eagle Farm, and it was the Eagle Farm 10,000 for a year. So hopefully we don't have history repeating itself.
There you go. Well, it does. That Gold Coast track was a bit of a joke last week, and as you mentioned, horses coming in like Brown's cows makes it very hard to do the form. Just something I've noticed, guys, and I'd like to get your opinions on this, but prices for country meetings going up very late. We filmed this Thursday morning at 9 a.m. The prices for Wangaratta at Tab and Bet365 and all of the corporates weren't up yet. And the race was 4 hours away. It makes it really hard to promote the sport when you're doing that. Imagine the AFL putting up prices for an AFL match Friday morning for a Friday night footy match. It's really tricky. It's bad for turnover. I understand the corporates doing it. It's not a bad thing for the pro punters per se, but let's be real. You've got content providers, you've got tipsters, you've got people wanting to promote and talk about races that drive turnover, and they can't do it. How are best bets and Betfair's analysts meant to provide form on races without knowing the prices? It makes it very challenging, and I don't really see the benefit for the industry in doing that. So I think we need to be better. Imagine, Mitch, trying to buy something at a shop without knowing what time the prices are going or the shop opens. Like, just think about it that way. Imagine turning up at a shop and going, oh, no, the prices, let's wait around. I want to buy this milk, but we don't actually have a time of when the odds or the prices are going up or when the shop opens. It makes it bloody hard. What are your thoughts, Mitch?
I was going to say that's a funny example because you might be the type that gets to just walk into the shop and not look at the prices, Tom. So it might be easier for us. I
still like to know when the shop opens, Mitch.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, look, it's only really come to light in the sort of last, week and a half, I think. There's a lot of chaos about it Wednesday, particularly, I think, from what I saw, and I'm sure Nick's the same, Ipswich and Murray Bridge. Is it been confirmed that's what's happening, or is someone from Bet365 away or something like that? Because I know they had this issue.
I did hear this, but from Tab's perspective, I believe it's going to be a new trend and not going to change anytime soon. So that's what I'm hearing, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of hubbub too about tipsters and analysts shouldn't worry about the prices anyway if they're tipping them. But yeah, I mean, the biggest point out of that is you don't want to go up and write this big story about something that drops at $1.20 and then you look like a complete mug for your best bet.
That's in the label itself. So people that are saying that you don't need prices to do form, what a joke. When you're tipping, you can't tip $1.20 shots. You can't actually tip the most likely horse to win the race. You've got to tip what you're going to back. And it's and it's odds dependent. You're trying to guide people to bet on horses depending on the price.
And for an example, I'll do the form without the prices and I'll have all of my runners and I know what prices, and then I pick my best bets out of what prices I think reflect fine. So if I don't really know and I've got to send them out, then my price might be a little bit different. But anyway, look, I think it's a bit of a watch. Do you think it'll last, or they're not going to pander to the masses, are they?
I think there'll be some feedback. There'll be a bit of feedback, and I don't think, from Tab's perspective, I don't think turnover will change too much, but it's not great for the industry. From Tab's perspective, it might not change too much, but the industry as a whole, I don't think it's going to drive turnover. I don't see the benefits of it. And you got the old school people that's how it used to be, and the betting ring used to open up an hour before the race, but times have changed, and there's so much content at our fingertips, so we need to drive turnover that way. Thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, no, look, I don't mind it from a betting perspective. And I mean, like, punting on Queensland races myself mostly, like, I'm fairly used to it, like you'll get Rocky go up on a Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock kind of thing, and it's kind of like, well, that time of the afternoon you want to be doing other things, not sitting around waiting for prices to come up. So at least if they're coming up like consistently at 9 o'clock every morning on race day, like I don't hate that, but yeah, like in terms of, you know, obviously with us, like at the leg up, you want to be trying to promote the sport and sort of drive turnover and whatnot, and it's a bit hard to do that when you're sort of guessing what time prices are going to go up at 9:30 on race day, rather than give yourself 24 hours or so the day before.
It's a great shout, re-timing, because like I said, you just want to guide as to when the prices are going to go up. You've got to be consistent with it, and that will help from a punting perspective. I don't want to be waiting 5 hours to get on when markets go up and you miss a price and someone has a $10 bet and prices change so much. So you've just got to you've got to be on standby for 5 or 6 hours. It's unrealistic. So
and I think like the other sort of thing I've seen with like the last week and a half or so with the prices coming out, like all the corporates are coming out within 15 minutes of each other, whereas like some days you'll get 365 will go up at 2 o'clock, Tab will go up at 4, and then Ladbrokes and Sportsbet are up at 6 o'clock. And like there's a few instances where it might be like 2 races don't go up on Ladbrokes and Sportsbet until another 2 hours later. So it's sort of just like, come on, like at least.
I've got an interesting point with that, Tom. Sorry, Nick, I was just trying to finish it in. There were some big prices through at Murray Bridge yesterday that were all snapped up at probably 365 and Tab, who went first.
Yep.
Is some of these other companies that follow and come in late and open their prices up. So, for example, there was a horse that won race 1, 270 offered, but then opens up in some of the other corporates at $1.80. Is that going to turn punters away from those platforms? Because they're going to go, well, I'm going to have to go over here to get the best price because I can't afford to keep shopping the unders when all these other people have scooped up everything else early.
If they're smarter, yeah. The same thing happened at Werribee today with a horse opening at $11 and Tab followed 10 minutes later and opened up $8. Use that intel. So they do copy. It's got to have an impact to some degree. And punters have got to be sharp, but they've also got to wait for the prices to come up. So it's a tough game and made even tougher. But let's move on. We could talk about this for a long time, but let's get to Scone because good meeting. DENISE'S Joy, Hortensia Stakes and the Group 3 Dark Jewel at Scone. Day 2 of the Carnival, Mitch. Soft 5 last year. There's some rain around. I reckon it will be pretty wet up there. We might dabble and get into a heavy range. But last year, the track played pretty well. They were off fence for a lot of the races, but they actually made ground late in the day up the inside last year on day 2 of the Carnival. How do you think the track will play this year?
Yeah, and we're sort of looking at similar weather conditions as well. So it frustrates. We know we're going forever. 1 to 5 mil. If 1 comes, you'd think it'd play quite nicely. If 5 or more come, it'll play a little bit different. But yeah, I think similar. Probably maybe slightly advantage to be midfield or better. If the ground is heavy. And then obviously with the day 1 of the Carnival Friday, there's the potential it's a little bit choppy, but I think if good enough, you should be able to win. Up the inside again, it's probably not something I'd want to be relying on is backing a runner that I think is going to cut up the inside late on the day. But I think probably midfield or forwards, and you can get to the middle of the track's probably the sweet zone.
Yeah, I'll be playing wet trackers on Saturday to some degree, but we'll see how we go. Nick's screen's just turned off. I hope he's back. Good. I think he's back. Mitch, we'll kick things off with you with the DENISE'S Joy. Which way are you leaning?
Yeah, look, horse number 8, Gerringong, Waterhouse Bot here, resuming. Trials have been okay, but if going through her form last prep, she won 2 on the bounce there at Canterbury and then went to that stronger Magic Millions, when they call it the Sunlight Plate, that Private Harry came out and won. It was a $3 million race. So good form lines. I think they have an opinion of this horse. And the key for me, barrier 6 likely to push forwards, obviously Waterhouse Bot. So I just think 1,100 metres first up here, she gets a good chance. She's got the right race map. And yeah, I think second up prep, any improvement on what she managed to do last time, I think she gets a good chance.
Does she lead, you reckon, Mitch?
Potentially not lead, but can
Summer Flame's
forward.
Got speed. Yeah.
Yeah. I just had it here. Summer Flame drawn to the inside, even maybe a Satan Stiletto. And I would think Sunrise likely really has to probably push forwards from that wide barrier. Like, got a lot of time for what Sunrise might be capable of doing. I think barrier 18 as it stands hurts. So I think Gerringong can sit probably just off that speed and get a soft run. Even one out, one back, you'd think find the middle of the track quite easily. So that's the way I've sort of looked at this race from a map perspective.
Yep. Nick, how have you seen the race? You tend to agree?
Yeah, I agree, boys. Gerringong, she's sort of one that could be a little bit one out of the box. Like we saw her sort of go through the grades nicely in her first two starts. She sort of JLW'd as at start 2. And then she got one of those slots in that $3 million race that Mitch mentioned. And, you know, the format of that's just been grouse. Like you've got Private Harry, Lady of Camelot, Elmore Zillow's gone to Melbourne and won a big race down there. I thought her trials have been good. And yeah, I thought from barrier 6, Winona Costanon, she's just going to land in that first half, maybe 5th, 6th, off the fence, blend into the race at the right time. There's another one that I've got a bit of time for a filly called Totoka from the Paul Perry stable. She's drawn the car park, but she's sort of always shown a little bit of ability. She got out to the mile and in some decent races. Like she went around in a Calendar Presnell and a Spring Stakes at the end of last year. But this preparation over the shorter courses, she came out and she won first up really impressively. Went to Canterbury last start on a heavy 9 and was pretty good behind Photograph. She's one that I'm not entirely sure what price she is, but I'd imagine she'd be big odds. And she might be one that could sort of add a little bit of value into your multiples.
Oh, I love that, Nick. Firstly, you're the first person to use grouse on the show, so that's fantastic. Well done. Secondly, Totoka, I agree. Photograph beat her, ticks a lot of boxes, just on Cummings and Godolphin. They've won this race the last 3 years, so commemorative. Won it last year, and they had a couple of winners before that. So they target the race. They got 2 in this race in Photograph and Thames. Photograph 2 from 2 on a heavy track, dominant winner last up. But Totoka was $9.50 there, Nick, and Photograph was $6.50. They were both as strong to the line. Totoka went back to last and made ground around similar sectionals. Totoka's now $81, Photograph's $12, so I can't work out why there's such a big difference. So jump on now and have some of that $81 Totoka, I think, is over the odds. I'm against the favourites here. I'm kind of against the Melbourne form in Soft Love and Thames. And I want to make a case for the best horse in the race, in my opinion, and that's 1, 2, 3. The top weights here, Amalita, Waller Fresh. Just the barrier concerns me a little bit, but she's got some form around some really smart horses. Shahisha, 2 from 2 on rain-affected surfaces, dominant midway winner at 2 back, and then a great race in a Light Fingers. Obviously beats home Amalita there and ties in. I think that's the best form in this race, and I think Shahisha should be a shorter price than Amalita, so Shahisha's a bit of value. And the other one's Seascape, who I think is a massive price here as well. Angela Jones off. Dylan Gibbons on, barrier 12 of 12 last start, snag right back, no chance. Absolute boat race there. First 4 settled 1, 2, 3, 4 in run. Started similar price to Amalita in a Red Roses at Flemington last spring. Genuine wet track might be a little bit of a query, but has a fitness edge over a few of these and a big price there in Seascape. So playing around horses 1, 2 and 3 there for me. Race 8, the Hortensia Stakes, 1,100 metres, huge field and a huge tempo, really fast speed expected here. We've got South of India, the Novelists, Ostraka, Grand Impact right up there. Is that how you've seen the race run, Nick?
Yeah, I thought there's plenty of tempo in it, which sort of makes it a little bit hard because there's going to be a few horses that I think could be like out the back. And you see quite often those races where there is a lot of tempo, you're expecting something to come into it, but they just get their hearts broken out the back and they can't really get into it. So I want something that's going to be handy. So I'm going to have a little 2-bet play. The first one is the Novelist for the Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott stable. This bloke, he's got a fairly decent record. He's won 3 of his 11. Including, I think, from off the top of my head, he won a BJ McLaughlin early on in his career at Group 3 level, and then he had a long while off the scene. But last preparation, he was good first up, and then he went to Canberra and he beat Bunker Hut and Ironman, jumped lead and won that day. And then in that Magic Millions 3 and 4-year-old race at Wyong, he just got carved up and Bahini grabbed him late. They ran a track record that day. He went around in that big race behind Payline and Golden Boom on the same night as the Sunlight, and they weren't that much slower than that $3 million race won by Private Harry. So I think he's a sort of a very progressive sprinter on the up, and off a couple of good trials, he can absorb that pressure. We know that Gabe Waterhouse and Adrian Bott team will have him rock hard fit, ready to rock and roll here. So he's one that I'm going to have something on, and I'll let you touch on it more so, Tom, because I know you like it as well. But Cabalus for the Bjorn Baker stable returns gelded, blinkers off, tongue tie off. They tested him in some top races last year. He went around in a Moya and a Manicato, and they were both they were good lasts, I thought. So this is a lot easier than what he contested in the spring, and he might be able to return on the back of a really good, solid tempo and get over the top of them.
Yeah, you can't add a lot more. Cabalus and Novelist trialled against each other, and the Novelist led. I liked his action there. He cruised around there, and it was a nice trial. But the way Cabalus found the line really caught my eye. Was really strong through the line there. And then you look at the fact that he's been gelded. He's always shown ability. He's running some good races. I just think he looks a good bet here. Barrier 1's a concern, Nick, for me. Yeah. See how the track's playing, and it might be a good advertisement for late mail. If they are making ground, it's not too bad drawing barrier 1. I think he's a great player. The other one is Contemporary for me. Mitch and Nick gets the right map, suck run off a hot speed, goes well fresh, 1 from 1 at this track. I think it was a class 1 victory at start 2 or 3, but he flies at 1100. I love horses that run well at the 1100, and he gets through the wet tracks fine. So he ticks a lot of boxes, Contemporary. So I'm just specking Contemporary and Cabalus. And if you do like the Novelist, I think you've got to have or save on Cabalus there as well. So just the Tommy 2 play, number 11, Cabalus, and number 4, Contemporary. Mitch, you got an opinion in the race?
Yeah, look, for me, it's a race I probably want to be betting into late. There's a few different sort of angles I was looking at in the sort of sense that, like, I don't hate the chances of clear thinking, but the map for me, I want to know that you can make up ground. The horse goes well on a heavy, and then how heavy it gets. I don't think Meneth's the worst at $20 odd. What's he, $30? If he gets to a dead set heavy track, he absolutely loves it. It's got that inside barrier and races up on speed. So I'm probably just going to have a little spec Meneth if I know that it's heavy. And if you can make up ground, perhaps clear thinking, but it's a late play race for me.
Pisanello's a bit of a lay for me here. I don't know what you guys think. One at Canterbury with J-Mac on, gets McAvoy on and barrier 19, and better on top of the ground. That's my lay in the race. Yeah,
I agree. That was the concern for me. Conditions, all his best figures have come on good tracks, so he's sort of got a bucket trend from a wide barrier too. So I fully agree with you, Tommy.
There's my hamburger sorted. Let's get to the Dark Jewel Classic 1400 metres. For Cindy won this race last year. Fascinating race with Vibrant Sun at the top of the weights here. Class horse trialled like an absolute star, Vibrant Sun, but tough ask. First up, 60 kilos, rain affected track, conceding weight to the 6 kilos, not just weight, 6 kilos to the rest of the field. I thought that was very interesting. Question for you, Mitch. Have they got Vibrant Sun in this race to keep the weights down for the stablemate Kitty Rose? That caught my eye.
Yeah, interesting. Perhaps, I'm not sure. Vibrant Sun, I would suggest, probably needs a run. So why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone? She's a horse that gets better second and third up. So, why not throw her in there and just help your own teammate out a little bit. So good catch from you there. She certainly needs the run. So it's not anything untoward, is it? But it definitely helps.
Yeah, she trialled superbly, Vibrant Sun, and in for a good campaign. I think Kitty Rose is a really nice horse, and Michael Kent Jr., I texted him last night about it. He said it's the best weighted horse in the country. So there you go. She's got class form, Kitty Rose. In the mix for me, I can make a case for Zaitung, Imposant continues to impress as well. So a couple there, and Willowin as well is a horse of interest. So a couple down the bottom there of interest for me. Nico?
Yeah, not really a race I'm overly keen to get involved with, boys. There's one horse down the bottom, number 13, Dark Glitter for Mark Van Gestel. She's flying. She just keeps popping up and running good races in whatever she contests. You know, like she just might be one of those mares that runs well in a benchmark 72 and a Group 3 and doesn't win either of them. But, she's won on a heavy. She's got some decent soft track form. And with 53 kilos on her back, she might be one that can pop up. But I don't think I'll be having a bet in the race. Mitch, you like one here?
Yeah, look, I thought the last start run of Zaitong in the Hawkesbury Guineas was handy enough. I'll give it a good chance with a little watch the conditions. I think a heavy track's probably Zaitong's advantage. What just urged me a little bit in this race is the speed map. I haven't got stacks of speed, Tom. I don't know about you. Watch My Girl potentially as your leader. And then Vibrant Sun as well, maybe. But Vibrant Sun, we talked about heavyweight, wet track. So I thought that gives Zaitong an opportunity with a lightweight to settle in a good position. And, yeah, if we're on a heavy track, I think she does really good work on there. So leaning to Zaitong's way.
Very good. That's all for Scone. What a great card it is. And follow Mitch on the Betfair app for all his tips as well as the leg up. Stay ahead of the game with the most up-to-date betting insights, track conditions and bias, scratchings, late market moves, and more. When it comes to betting, having the most up-to-date information can make all the difference. That's why we've introduced Betfair's Late Mail, the most informed tipping service on the market. Delivered by pros like John Walter, Glenn Ingram, Sean Byrne, and Bella Anderson, Late Mail provides expert insights closer to the jump, helping you adjust your strategy with the latest information and data at your fingertips. Late Mail is exclusive in the Betfair app, so simply open the app, follow Late Mail tipsters, and enable notifications to be ready when our pros send in their late bets. Stay informed, stay ahead, bet smarter with Late Mail. Speaking of the leg up, layback list time, Nick, and you're stepping up with the best Group 1 blowouts in Queensland. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Tommy. There's been a few over the years, and you know, like these aren't necessarily the 5 longest price blowout, like longest winners of the carnival, but there's a few that sort of stood out. So a couple of honourable mentions, especially in the Stradbroke over the years. We've had River Lad at 30s, Linton, the big grey up the inside. You remember him at $26, and Mr. Baritone fairly early on. I think he was $31 or $41 that day for the late Mike Moroney. But there was one a bit more recently in 2012, Midsummer Music. So she started 30-1, and she absolutely bolted in. She gave Moods a stratty, and I thought what's interesting and what puts her in the list is she's subsequently the dam of Steffi Magnetica, who won last year's Stradbroke, and Steffi went around $18 or $19. So she comes in at number 5.
Real strong start
4,
from you, Nick. That's good. Good areas.
Yeah, good areas. Yeah. Good to hear. Number 4 was last year's Queensland Oaks winner, Sox Nation, BSP of 160. So she was one that nobody found, but she hadn't done much going into the race. She hasn't done much since, but I guess there's a bit of a hindsight there. How did we let one of Kieran Maher's go around that price in a 3-year-old staying feature? I guess we'll never know, but she's there at number 4. Number 3, the 2006 Doomben 10,000, a horse called Undue. Before my time, but he started his career with John Hawkes. He'd won 1 from his first 7, and then he got transferred to Shane Clark there at Darwin. He won 9 of his next 11 over, and then 4 months later, he won the Doomben 10,000 at 40-1. He won 2 other races after that. That was an Oakley Plate and the Heath. So he just found a new lease on life when he got up into the Northern Territory, Undue. Then the top 2, both in 2019. So in 2019, the Queensland Oaks, Winning Ways, got the job done. She was only 20-1, so she wasn't a huge blowout. But the second and third horses were both 150-1. So that was Dawson Diva and Lady Cuvée. Absolutely blew punters out of the water that day. If you got the trifecta, you're probably still sipping martinis in the Maldives, I would imagine. And number 1, this one's just a standout for me, was the 2019 Doomben 10,000. The Bostonian, he was very good to me that day. I declared him. But he came over from New Zealand as a 3-year-old. He was unbeaten in Brisbane. He won races like the Daybreak Lover, the Sunshine Coast Guineas, and then he came back the following year and he won the 10,000 as a 40-1 shot. But he caused a big boil over because Nature Strip was $2.30 and Osborne Bulls was $2.90. So there were 2 sort of cult hero horses that were well found by the markets, and the Bostonian and Michael Carl got up the inside and knocked them off. So that's the top 5 Queensland biggest blowouts in the Group 1s, boys.
Very good, mates. Well played. Well played. So good segue into the features here at Doomben on Saturday. How do you expect the track to play, Nick?
I'm expecting them to all want to get off the fence, fellas, especially like I just think that'll be the new sort of normal at Doomben, especially when it's wet like this. So last year, you might remember Bella Nipotina and I Wish I Win. They got well off the fence down the middle and fought it out. So I'm expecting the same. Barriers, I'm not worried if my horse has drawn a wider gate and is going to get back, because I think they'll come wide and be swooping. But like, that's not to say that horses drawn low can't win, because I do think that they will be coming out to the middle of the track. So they'll sort of be the first horses to get there, I guess. If they're go forward horses and drawn low, they'll be out in the middle before horses from barrier 10 and 15 are getting there. So off the fence.
Great summary there. We start with race 5, the Spirit of Boom Classic, a Group 2 over 1,200 metres. I've got no idea here, hardly know any of the horses. It would have taken me 4 hours to go through, so I'm going to let this one go through to the keeper. Mitch, have you got an opinion, or should we throw it over to the expert?
Look, we know 2-year-old betting's not huge for me, particularly on a heavy track. One that I was really keen on earlier in the season, though, Gallo Nero goes around here. I think he's a handy type. His first up, will he handle the heavy track? That's probably my only query. So I'm probably going to leave the race, given the fact it's on the 2-year-olds on the heavy, and there's a few unknowns for me. So looks like it's up to Nick.
Come on, mate.
Yeah,
step up. Give us something.
Well, I'm not overly keen, but there's two that come out of the Delrello that they actually Quinella the Delrello a fortnight ago. That's Talk to Be Sure and Cool Archie. So Cool Archie gets here third up. He won first up. He broke his maiden in fine style, heavy 8 this track and trip. So he's hard enough to beat, but he had the fitness run on his side when he clashed with Talk to Be Sure, and he got the job done that day. But I thought Talk to Be Sure was probably the better run. He got back. He was really well supported by the market that day, and so that's always a good sign moving forward. And he just kept chasing all the way to the line. I didn't think 1,000 metres was going to be his go. 2 runs over the summer, he was well liked both of those starts as well, and he just does a lot wrong. So he's only going to be one that improves with race experience. I think up to 1,200 suits, and the heavy track, it is a bit of a query, I guess. He ran second. He was $1.50 on a soft 7 at start 2, but I think his dam got beat less than 2 lengths on a heavy 8 in like a Furious or a T-Rose or something like that. So there's a little bit on his breeding side that says he might get it. So that's where I'm playing that race. Talk to Be Sure and something small on Cool Archie just to save.
Race 5, number 4 there, Talk to Be Sure. Let's head to the JRA Chairman's Handicap Group 3 over 2,000 metres. Any opinion here from either of you? Who wants to step up? We'll throw to you first, Nick.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a tough one to assess, because if Sir Delius or Delius, however you want to say it, rocks up in one piece and ready to go, I'd suggest he just simply wins, because his European form is elite. His 3 trials have been good. I guess the knock is that he's 225 days between runs, first time in Australia, heavy track. But if one stable is going to get a horse fit, ready to go with that sort of setup, it's Waterhouse and Bott. So I don't really want to bet in the race, because I don't necessarily want to back him with that setup and at that price, but I don't want to be backing anything to beat him. I thought Manzois was a good run the other day, but
I was going to say you had Manzois in the run sheet there at one point, didn't you?
I did, and I've just sort of tossed and turned. I thought, no, he can't possibly be with him. But he cost me too much when he beat Sharp and Smart in the Derby, and he's cost me too much when I've been trying to catch him ever since. So Saturday will probably be the day. But yeah, maybe if he rocks up in a head-to-head market with another horse around that, with the horse like floating or something, I might entertain one of those sort of bets.
There's a bit of Sox Nation about him. He's bobbed up in a Group 1 and won at a price and hasn't done much since. And he was very good last start. He ran 6th fastest final 200 metres of the day there, over 18:35 or whatever it was in that benchmark 90. Not many horses can do that. That was an impressive run, but he just doesn't win. No. And you go back and you mentioned Sir Delius, the horse that I'm with here. What price? Like Sir Delius started $17 in an Arc, one of the best races in the world. Manzois to be 1,700, I reckon, in a race like that. So
that's probably unders.
Shout out to him.
I'll be laying that price. Yeah, so I'm with Sir Delius. He just gets to turn up, and at that price, if he does turn up, he wins. And what are the odds that he turns up? Probably better than the odds he's at currently in the market. So Sir Delius goes on top. He's clearly in good order from what we've seen in the trials. And he just looks a bit at that price for me. Number 1 there, Sir Delius. I love what he's done at the trials. Mitch, how have you seen the race?
Yeah, he's certainly the one to watch. Well, like you said, all his ratings from Europe, they stand up. He's won on a heavy track as well. So, yeah, he's the big watch. He just has to handle it. If you wanted something out wide, a place bet or something, I didn't think Kibosh was the worst. Walla Mellum, heavy track form is probably what just jumped off the page a little bit to me. Drawn to the inside, can probably find a nice run. But I think if the favourite shows up, like you've touched on, should be hard to beat.
Yeah, Waller with 3, and we made a case for 2 of them. So Strathday probably wins and knocks us off with those 2 Waller numbers. Who knows? Let's get to race 7, the Bright Shadow. Magic Millions Bright Shadow, 1,100 metre race. Looks an interesting race here, and a couple of these lined up in a Hawkesbury Rush and a couple of races, and the dominant the market in number 2, In Flight, and number 3, Kin. I think we're with that race. Which way are you with, Nick?
Yeah, I'm the other way with you boys with Kin. I just thought she was held up a little bit there and was good through the line and only just missed In Flight. So I guess the knock is that she's sort of a bit of a noted first up performer and drops off a bit of a cliff second up. But James McDonald might be able to offset that. If anyone can, he can. I think you're right though. Like that's got to be the form, and that Kin and In Flight have to be the two mares. And at those prices, it's probably easy enough to back them both for a result. But I just thought Kin, especially from that barrier 8, we mentioned earlier, sort of getting off the fence. In Flight, that barrier 2, she could be in sort of the sticky ground, and Kin's going to be blending into the race at the right time, and they might be able to get over the top of them. So at that price, I'm siding the way of the Godolphin mare, but yeah, certainly no knock In Flight.
The way the track plays will be key to the chances of In Flight, with Collette jumping on board. Barrier 2, that's his absolute happy place. He'll be hunting the fence and working through along the inside, no doubt. Mitch, you're with number 2, In Flights?
Yeah, Nick's touched on the form line well. In Flight Kin, I think the advantage that I'd lent towards In Flight was the heavy track ratings. 3 wins from 5 starts on it. I just thought, given the conditions, given the inside barrier, if Jason Collette can get the opportunity to not get too far back and find a nice middle lane in the straight, we know she gets through the conditions, and she's been right there or thereabouts in 2 handy races this prep. So 3rd up now, sort of peaking in fitness on ideal conditions. I think she gets her chance.
Yeah, I agree. Beat on Barber, obviously, in that race at Canterbury, and Barber came out and won very well. So, yeah, it's an interesting race on with In Flight as well, but concede Kin has a strong chance with J-Mac. Let's get to the feature. The Group 1 Doomben 10,000, 1,200 metre, $1.5 million race. As I touched on off the top, the race has been dominated by the Raiders, Spirit of Boom in 2014, before Falvalon in 2002. The 2 locals in recent times to win. It's been a while between drinks. Bella Nipotina won the race last year, and 3-year-old geldings, Mizzou and Gigakick, the 2 years prior to that. A fair bit of speed on here. Does Overpass lead? You've got Belclair, Zarastro, Schwartz right in the mix, Nick?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be the charge of the Light Brigade, to be honest. You've got like those 3 you mentioned, Zarastro, Overpass, Schwartz are all going to go forward. You'll have Belclair nice and handy. Hidden Wealth, he's another one that's got speed. So does Rothfire from the wide draw. I'd imagine they're positive on him. So, yeah, I'm expecting it to set it up for horses to sort of get back and come wide. So there's a couple that I don't mind. Now, I do have a ticket on Schwartz, but I got on the day that the markets went up, and I've only ended up with about $1 more than what he currently is. And now he's probably not even going to run if it gets too heavy. So go figure. That's another way to do your dough, I guess. But yeah, the 2 that I've landed on, Sunshine in Paris, I just thought she's the class. She's always been one of mine. But she won that champion sprint. She beat the likes of Right to Party, who was just flying, and a straight track specialist. And Bella Nipotina was in that field. And all 3 runs this prep have been a super. Heavy track, sure, it's a bit of an unknown, but she did run 5th on a heavy 8 and a TJ last year. And you take out Chain of Lightning, who sort of had her birthday that day. I think the 4 horses that finished around her, I Wish I Win, Bella Nipotina, Imperatriz and Espiona, who are all noted wet trackers. So I think she'll hold her own. She gets here fourth up. She gets the blinkers on first time, which is interesting. James McDonald again. He could be in for a big afternoon, as he always is. And yeah, well, barrier 14 around the 1200 at Doomben's tricky. I think we touched on there's plenty of speed. She's just going to be able to blend into the race and will be very hard to hold out. Jeddabil, he's going really well. He obviously won the challenge first up, beat Komochi and IME that day. And he was really good just to miss in that victory stakes a fortnight ago. Wet track, no concern. Barrier 3. A little bit sticky, but he's just going to be the one that's sort of going to be landing just in behind the speed, I would have thought. So he'll be hard to beat. But I don't think the chances in there. Benedetta, she's flying. You can make a case for half a dozen of them, I think, and potentially still miss the winner.
Nah, we've got the winner between us, and that is Sunshine in Paris. I love the setup for her here. I'm just with the two class horses. You got Overpass and Sunshine in Paris. They're clearly the best two form references and form lines around them in recent times. They're the highest handicap rated horses. I think I like a setup, as you mentioned, Nick. J-Mac on, a slight freshen up, blinkers on. I wish she drew better. She hasn't drawn a barrier at all, but I think she'll be charging late. She's one of the most unlucky horses in the barrier draw that we've seen in recent times. But I think she's a class horse. I think she'll be winning. So you mentioned she ran fifth on a wet track in a TJ. She only got beaten 0.7 lengths, so the run was better than that with 5 horses across the line there. So she not only ran fifth, but it was a close margin in that TJ on a heavy 8. So I think the wet's fine, and I love her setup, and I think she's the horse to beat. I'll be saving Overpass. I love that run over in the west. Iron Horse, this horse, he travels so well. Fast tempo there. The leaders dropped out, and he stuck on and ran a good fifth. So saving on him, and I think they're the class 2 horses. Mitch, how have you seen it?
Yeah, I suppose very similar to you, Tom. We've touched on Sunshine in Paris a lot, and I know we've all said James McDonald on, but what the key to that sort of means, isn't it, is that you'd expect the horse to probably settle more midfield than what it might normally, because he's a positive jockey. So I think given the speed in the race, it gives him an opportunity to get across and find a middle position in the field with some cover. And if they're playing away from the inside, as Nick suggested, I think she's going to get first look at that run there. So keen with her. I'm going to save out on Swartz, though. I know Nick suggested, and I might have seen the same thing, that they said if it gets too heavy, they weren't going to go. But he went to a new level last start at the Valley, a ratings peak, and did it on a soft 6, which I think the discussions were it was a lot stickier than just that soft 6, wasn't it, Tom? It was that tricky day there. And he's also come out and won a 1,050-metre trial at Randwick on a heavy. So if he goes around and he can improve off his ratings profile from that Group 1 win last time, I think he's still there or thereabouts. So don't throw away the futures ticket, Nick. You've got the overs as it stands. So there we go.
That's right.
Job half done.
He's a bomb fresh horse, Schwartz, and I like the setup being fresh as well. Just had every chance in that William Reid, though, Mitch, and produced a higher rating, obviously, in the right spot. So that was probably a good 4 on the fence there leading, and if you weren't on the fence, it was probably a heavy track. So, interesting race. That is the Group 1. Let's get to our best bets, or Hamburger first, actually. Mitch, we'll start with you.
Yep, so I'm going to go back to Scone, race 7. So I was keen on Gerringong. I think it's the horse that gets it done. And you did mention it, Tom, the Victorian number 6, Soft Love, I'm against. So no knock on what she's done. She's undefeated 3 from 3. But drawn to the inside and not known for her speed in her 3 races. I just think she's a danger of getting shuffled back into that inferior ground. And for me as well, 1,100 metres, she was hitting the line nicely at Caulfield last time, 1,200 metres. I think the 1,100 metres, if she's going to be in an awkward position, she's going to need a lot of luck from that position. So I'm backing Gerringong and I'm laying Soft Love in the race.
I like your lay there. I'm against Soft Love. And Thames that was fascinating. Thames went straight past Soft Love there last start at Caulfield, and then Soft Love came off its back again and charged straight past it. It was a bizarre run, but I like the setup for Thames. Just synthetic hoof filler and a wide barrier, but freshen up back in trip, probably can beat Soft Love. So I'm against Soft Love from inside as well. Nick, what's your Hamburger, mate?
We're going to go to race 3 at Doomben, Tommy. We're going to have something on number 3, So Naive, for the Kieran Marr camp. First start in Australia, but 3-year-old colt. He's got some genuine Group group form in New Zealand. He won a Group 3 on a soft 7 at Ruakaka, and then he ran second in the Hawke's Bay Guineas to Savagly, who's come out to Australia and run second to Feroce in the Australian Guineas. So that has to be good form for this. He's got a Stradbroke nomination as well, which I think that's a good enough push in itself that they think he's above average. So shopping around $17 or $18, I'm having something on him. I'm also going to have something on El Morzillo for Kelly Schweida. She went around against the older horses last start in the Victory Stakes and just victim of circumstances from the wide draw. She went back, never really got into the race. It was fairly on speed and inside dominated that race. But I thought her work through the line was okay. So back to her own age, she's clearly the best in at set weights conditions with that rating that she's got. So they're the two that I want to back. And I want to lay Kieran Maher's other horse, Good Luck to Me, with Ryan Maloney on from Barrier 2. He's flying. He's won 3 of his last 5, but they've been in lesser races. He had his chance in the Daybreak Lover last start, and I think he's just sort of found his ceiling now, and the heavy tracks are a concern, especially from Barrier 2. So we're going to, back horses 3 and 8 and lay horse 2.
Oh, good. Like that, I'm having a Tommy 2 play as well at Scone, and that is the Hortensia Stakes, a 1100-metre race. I'm laying Pisanello for the reasons outlined. Canterbury, last start with J-Mac on, loses J-Mac, gets K-Mac. Barrier 19, better on top of the ground. I'm against Pisanello, and with Caballas and Contemporary there in that race. So that's my hamburger. I'll keep rolling with my best bet on the program. On the day, it comes up at Scone, the last race there. Race 10, number 8, Fearson each way. Lovely price, this horse. Third up. I've been with this horse all campaign on the back of some nice trials. Ran the fastest final 200 metres of that takeover target after getting way too far back on a moderately run race. It was a pretty plain ride. Would have liked Waddick off potentially, but up to 1,300 metres suits, and ready to strike third up at a big price. That is race 10, number 8, Fearson for me. Mitch, your best bet?
Yeah, I'm going to stay down in South Australia. Carnival over, but Morphettville Parks, and we talked about, Tommy, not much rain down here, so I'm expecting a quick track. In race 8, there's a horse here, number 7, Vintage Star, resuming. He's 3 from 4 wins first up, 1,000-metre track and distance specialist, 2 from 3. He's drawn well here with Jake Torock on. He'll be in a prominent position now. When he went to a spell, he defeated a horse as a short favourite called Prairie Flower. Prairie Flower stayed on for the Clarkin team, continued its prep, and 2 runs ago, 1.7 lengths off Charmstone in the Sangster. So I know it's not sort of the same sort of thing, but Vintage Star does his best work fresh, and he's got form around some handy horses. So I think it's a good kick-off point for him on a track that's going to suit.
Lovely. Nick, your best?
We're going to go to the last at Doomben, fellas. Race 9, horse 8, Liberty Park for Chris Waller. Hopefully the ex-Kiwis have a bit of a day out here, because I think this bloke's ticking along really nicely. He was sneaky good in his Australian debut at Hawkesbury. Then he came up here. He won this track and trip on a soft 6. That was 2 starts ago. Then he had a month between runs back to the mile against the older horses, and he just had no luck in the straight. But once he did see a little bit of daylight, he got out and he warmed up quite nicely. That was the same day as the Queensland Guineas, which is the same lead up. And while the Guineas was quicker overall, they came home faster that last 600 in Liberty Park's race. So he doesn't have the ratings profile to win, but I think for that wide draw, heavy track up to 2,000 metres, he's one that around that $23 represents some great each way value, especially when you've got sort of those horses at the top, like your Firm Agreement, King of Thunder, Shangri-La Spring. They're all coming off Sydney preps. They've been freshened. They've got the Queensland Derby in mind. They're probably going to be half a run short. So I thought Liberty Park's one ready to rock and roll, and might be able to get over the top in the last.
Love that. Bit of value for the multiples and for the quaddie. And to finish us off on the show with our best bets, Nick, you're joining us for a couple of weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, mate. That's the plan. Hopefully, find a few winners over the carnival.
Where can we find your stuff at the leg up, mate?
Yeah, jump onto our socials, Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, whatever tickles your fancy, at TheLegUp Oz. So plenty of content. Hopefully, a few winners as well along the way.
Beautiful, mate. Thanks for joining us. Keep the grouse coming throughout the next few weeks. I love it. Mitch, always a pleasure with you. Good luck on Saturday.
Yes, thank you, mates, and to you as well, boys. We keep on rolling, and no doubt a few sleepless nights for us coming up, Tommy, with the F1's back. So
Aye.
I'm
Back
assuming
in
you and
Europe.
me will both be up looking at that. Yeah, here we go.
Yes. Thanks for joining us. This has been Laid Back with Betfair.
Hello, Betfair punters. We're excited to introduce a new feature on the Betfair app, Follow Tipsters. This feature will allow you to follow your favourite Betfair experts and receive notifications when their betting strategies go live. By clicking follow and enabling notifications, you'll never miss a tip from pros like Terry Layton, Mitch Lewis, Jackson Oldham and Bella Anderson. All exclusive in the Betfair app, so download and get started.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.